republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Morning.
I'd like to ask for a motion to add the Fredericksburg Regional Food Bank emergency request as an action item to the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Mr. Collins?
Oh, I saw that came out today. It was on there. I don't know if it made it into the packet, into the rest of the county could see it, but so if you have it on action tonight, it won't give me an opportunity to hear from my constituents whether they're for or against this. So you could amend it to discussion and have an emergency meeting or something, but I think we should at least allow our constituents to have some input in this.
Mr. Smoke, what was the reason for the urgent request? I know it just came out today.
Right. I know Mr. Jonathan Franklin received a request at 4:20 yesterday from the food bank. It was in my inbox, opened up at 7:57 this morning. This is due to SNAP benefits ceasing the SNAP benefits with the federal government shutdown will no longer be available, won't be paid for the November 1 cycle, and this impacts a certain percentage of King George residents.
Mr. Sullins?
I thought measures were in place for things like that so that they would continue to get paid no matter what.
Well, these are there are additional. There will be additional food needs to be purchased. I believe it's one tractor trailer's worth of food every month, every week for the month of November. And the way this is set up, it's on a pro rata share. If the food bank serves 16.5% of a locality, they pay 16.5% of that cost. So these are just additional funds, additional food that will need to be purchased to serve the Love Thy Neighbor and some of those other ones that benefit from the food pantry. Fredericksburg Food Bank, I'm sorry.
Ms. Bender?
One of the questions I have, thank you, Mr. Chair, is I understand all this. I've heard this topic at other meetings that I've been at this month, but were they going to be getting these trucks with federal government dollars that now will not be available? Like what is I understand the need, but this at the last minute, there's a lot of other questions that might come up that need to be answered.
And we can put it on for the agenda if you want. I know Mr. Franklin, he said, Mr. Smug, would you like me there? I said, I believe I can handle. I did send you all the requests for support, the letter that he received yesterday afternoon, directed to the Board of Supervisors with the date of October 20th. If you want to put this on the agenda, we can. It was just a request. If you'd like me to, in the meantime, get with Mr. Franklin, see if he can call in to answer any specific questions the board may have.
In the case that we could have, Ms. Collins is right, we could have an emergency meeting or something next week if we needed to. Is anyone object to that?
We do have a town hall that could be included.
Good, very much so.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so I could only do it the first day of the week, Monday. I won't be unavailable the rest of the week.
Okay. If we need to do something on Monday, could we do that?
Well, Mr. Solons and I have a meeting. Mr. Solons could be here. I'm the chair of GWRC, so I cannot miss that meeting.
What time is that meeting, Ms. Binder?
6 o'clock.
Could we do it earlier?
I know I have no problem, but I don't know if other board members.
Could not.
Okay, so we're talking about kicking a can on this so that, which means that people may not get the help that they need because of the government shutdown. But we're going to kick the can just so we get constituents to input, which, I'm good with that. But we are elected to make decisions on their behalf. So if people aren't going to get supported, or there's a risk of people not getting help because we're kicking the can, is that a possibility?
It seems to appear so. I know Jonathan Franklin runs a tight ship over there, and he's not someone who comes before us asking us to do things on a whim like this. So if he's doing it, it's calculated and it's necessary, most likely. Mr. Sullins, Mr. Collins, you next.
Matt, do you mind summarizing put it into public record what we're talking about? Because I think if we do vote this in tonight, it's not a massive lump sum of money. It's installments, and it's something that we can turn off just as quickly as we turned it on.
Sure. So the letter is up on the public, and I'm sure it's up there for those on YouTube. So there's a plan of action here. So with the shutdown, there could be an impact to benefits in Planning District 16. So you see the response plan. $50,000 per truckload, just adding volumes of food throughout to serve the residents. And if you scroll down the next page, Chris or Jeff, it kind of breaks out. Here's the cost, additional labor, so $214,080 in total. Based on King George's County's data, about 5% of the approximately 33,000 SNAP recipients across the region are county residents, and about 8% of those are assisted by the food bank in our last fiscal year were King George County residents. So what I'm looking for is, and I had this conversation with Mr. Franklin earlier, this projected amount, 214,080, would cover the month of November. If that government shutdown ends next week, this would not be needed. And that's why, and then there's a brief board report. Any unused funds would go back into the fund balance. Or and I would recommend paying for this on a week by week basis. So, if the shutdown stops in the middle of November, then you would only pay for those 2 weeks to help buy the additional tractor trailers worth of food for our citizens and citizens served by Planning District 16.
Mr. Collins.
So the shutdown's been going on for several weeks. It's not a surprise that those benefits were coming to an end. So it's not like that people didn't know about it. So to have it put on today and not, so I represent the James Monroe district, and I don't know how many people got the information that I got this afternoon, or just sometime this morning. So this is taxpayer money. We are elected, but it is taxpayer money. And I think, we often use that word transparency. We want to be as transparent as possible. Also, the money for those particular benefits for the food, how about other folks that are suffering from the shutdown? Are we going to start paying salaries of people that are not getting paid? How far does this go?
Are you referring to the government employees that are going to be reimbursed whenever it comes back?
Well, I don't know that to be a fact. They usually are reimbursed, but now that they aren't going to.
They said that they're going to.
Well, would these folks not be reimbursed also with their benefits? Wouldn't they get their back benefits?
I think what we're talking about, though, is less than benefit. We're talking about purchasing food. It's hard to reimburse people food that they do not have now when they need it. So that's what we're talking about. It could be elderly people. It could be an 80-year-old lady living by herself who depends on this stuff weekly in order to feed herself. Or I know plenty of grandmas here who are raising their grandkids. So I have to take those into account as well.
Mr. Chair, personally, I don't have any issue with making a decision. I see it relatively low risk. It's week by week. And
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Trout, finish. That's it. Mr. Collins.
So, as a Christian man, you do the least you're supposed to do. And so that puts me in a quandary. Do you go ahead and do an action and not because you're doing for the least, but you're not doing for the others because they don't know anything about it? So that's why I brought up that point. So whatever you want to do is on.
Ms. Bender, you're waiting for me. Thank you.
I wanted to bring up too that There's another organization I know that also serves especially elderly, Healthy Generations, and they give hot meals. And so, you know, if this continues on, we're probably going to get more requests from other organizations asking for money to help feed, you know, the elderly that maybe are shut-ins. So that's where I was asking questions, because there comes a point where we might not to be able to fund every request if it goes on longer.
Mr. Stallings?
Thank you, sir. I want to point out, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. The motion on the floor is just to amend the agenda. We're debating the actual event before we've even decided that we're going to talk about the event.
Mr.
It was up for
Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. So my discussion was that not to make it an action item. That was the bottom line.
Gotcha.
Mine was that I'm okay with it being an action item. But we're voting to make it an action item or not to make it an action item, correct?
Yes,
Was that seconded?
it was seconded. So we can vote by roll call. Mr. Stroud,
Aye.
Mr. Collins,
Aye.
Ms. Bender,
Aye.
Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. We're now going to floor to public comment. I'm sure we have some people here today that are here to speak about the Caledon Solar Project. We do have a public hearing for that, but before we even get into that, I will say this matter is on the agenda tonight for a presentation. The board has contacted about third parties with specific concerns about an easement on the property, its relationship with this project. Those are issues on this board as far as the legality of this. It has nothing to do with me. My choice is only to, and this board is only to see if this is good for King George, if it fits King George. I know the Planning Commission got into the weeds on the legality of it. That's for the state of Virginia to figure out and the attorneys that are involved. Any concerns about the easement or convenience, covenants, or legal issues for circuit court? This is a special exemption application. All future discussion of the board will focus on the standards set forth in Articles 3, Division 4 of the zoning ordinance, as in this case with every special exception request. With this matter, I do not want to deter anyone from speaking publicly, as everyone is still welcome to speak, but I just want you to know as far as legality of this case is not a subject that we are involved in. Public comment will be open to 3 minutes per person. In order for everyone a chance to speak, please state your name, the district you vote. If you do not live here, please state where you live, city and state, so it can be properly included in the public record. First, I have up Pastor Davis.
Thank you for that. I'm Pastor Davis. I vote in the Dahlgren district, and I'm kind of the black sheep here. I do something different every time I read the Bible. But in James chapter number 4, the scripture says, "Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life?" That's a good question. "Is it even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away?" And compared to eternity, God said that our life, whatever it's 100 years here, it's just like a piece of vapor, like a vapor going up. And so I want to encourage you tonight. I want to say something that I said to my congregation on Sunday morning. If God wakes you up in the morning, it means that he is not done with you yet. Yet. And every breath you take is proof that God still has a purpose for you. It may not be what you think it is. The purpose may not even be what you want. I mean, nobody prays for a car accident. Nobody prays for a special needs child. Nobody prays for bad things. We always pray for people to get well. We pray for healthy children and all that. But God allows things into our life for a purpose. And so it's his plan. And so waking up each morning is a gift from God. It is not an accident. It is an on purpose. Every day that you wake up on purpose. And it's not by accident. And it is about purpose every day. And it means there is still work to be done. James talks about the complexity of life, the uncertainty of life, and the brevity of life. A new day is an opportunity for purpose. A new day is an opportunity for impact. And it's not just about survival. well, I woke up today and, well, here I'm on this side of the grass. You know, hear people say that all the time. So if you opened your eyes today, don't sit on the gift. God's given you a gift of another day. And if God trusted you enough to wake you up, you owe it to him to make this day count. Folks are here tonight trying to make this day count. Our supervisor here tonight trying to make this day count for the citizens of King George County. Breath in your body is purpose. Heartbeat is mercy. And when God is done with you, you will not wake up here anymore. You're going to wake up somewhere, but you may not wake up here. It'd be a shame to wait to the other side, because God has an eternal purpose forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You're going to be somewhere. And so it'd be a shame to wait till you get to heaven or hell to work on God's purpose for your life. So think about it. God bless you, and thank you for the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Amen. Let me get out of here.
Arn?
Good evening, Arn Eliason. I'm in the James Madison District. Tonight I'd like to speak about power. Tech companies, as you know, are building their data centers worldwide, and some vulnerable communities have actually experienced blackouts as a result. Data centers can use mind-boggling amounts of power. Each large data center campus can consume as much energy as the combined residential use of tens of thousands of homes. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting, Supervisor Kathy Bender asked specifically about power needs and power supply for green energy ventures. The response made two things abundantly clear. One of them was that Dominion is not capable of supplying adequate power in the time frame that they would like to have it. The second thing was that Green Energy Ventures revealed that they had active plans to implement gas turbines to provide their own power. They had evaluated the availability of gas, and they had looked at the practicality of getting the gas turbines in place. That caused me to do some internet searching about what the effects of gas-powered turbines might be. And they generate an unholy level of noise. They range anywhere from 80 to 110 decibels, which is considered to be loud and extremely loud. But large industrial turbines can generate noise exceeding 150 decibels, high enough to cause immediate pain and hearing loss. Even if you go a distance away, somewhere between 100 and 150 decibels will be heard as a constant noise disrupting quality of life in the region where I live. I think the final note is that with their planning and not putting it as part of their glitzy presentation with finely rendered artists' views of their data campus, they are not trustworthy. There was no previous mention of gas turbines. I think it probably caught everybody flat-footed and by surprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Arn. Tootie? I think it says TU, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it's my writing. It's not that great. Tootie Moncure, Madison District. First of all, I want to thank the board for watching out for the citizens of the county. You have many people to please, and all of us don't always believe in the same things. So thank you. Today's had an interesting article in the New York Times, and I quote, Amazon has a plan to automate 75% of its operations, internal documents show. That would mean robots replacing more than 500,000 jobs. I don't need to say anything else about that. Now more than ever, especially in this quickly changing environment, we must be diligent in decisions. My husband and I have been attending these board meetings for 2 years. The agreements brought to this county have changed exponentially over time. Cheap farmland does not mean naive people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne Marie?
Hi, my name is Ana Maria Lobo. I live in Presidential Lakes. I want to thank all of you for your service to the community. Also, a big thanks to the supervisors who denied the Gibson solar panels. This is the second time that you denied these solar panels, which will use 890 acres of land. The people of King George don't want these solar panels. If you approve this application, they say the county will get $4 million a year and $19 million over the life of the project. Well, I think you should remember what Virginia Power did to Beechwood Power Plant. It has been closed since February 2021. The plant was closed because it could not compete on price. Who will benefit from these solar panels? The Chinese companies who make the panels, the people selling the land, Virginia Power. Will there be increase in our electric bills? The people of King George will not get any benefits from this. Also, I want to talk about the traffic in 301 Starboard. The people from Maryland are coming to Dahlgren to get groceries, cigarettes, and gas. This is because it's cheaper and safer. Here, I feel Dahlgren belongs to Maryland. Please don't approve any more houses or business on the corner of Route 3 and 206. The traffic is getting very busy because Sheetz and Liberty gas stations are competing for gas customers. Liberty has cheap gas if you pay the debt or cash. Competition is great, but Sheetz being charged the people of King George $3.19 for many years. And now they lowered the price after so many years. I never get gas and Sheetz. I go the Casco BJ's. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Shaw?
James Shaw, James Monroe District, columnist for the Northern Next Sentinel, citizen journalist, kgmedia.top, not speaking in my capacity as an EDA member. New hat needs some explanation. NRSSS. Red Green Show fans would know this as Nathan Rothschild's sewer sucking service. My dad did fence work in California, sending John Glenn and other things up into space. When the Saturn V development work shut down, he had to find other work, which ended up in all places, Vermont, a time when there were more cows than people in that state. As a child, I moved to a new house in the 60s there, and the neighbor kids came over. One of their first questions was, do you have city water or well water? I had no idea what all this meant. Regulations being what they were in rural Vermont, well, the case was well water was iffy in those days. We, in our new house, had city water. Drink up. And here we are now, 55 years later in King George County, and that contrast between well water users and service authority users remain. There's also a contrast between septic tank users and wastewater treatment plant users. All water users draw from wells of various depths going into the 3 or 4 aquifers that are underneath our feet. And so we need to be good cooperative stewards of that shared water resource. On the other hand, septic tank users have seen their pumping fees in the county skyrocket in recent months. The Service Authority is or will be working on perhaps a long-term plan to possibly process that pumped effluent that will keep the costs down of all citizens here in the county dealing with that side of life. It is therefore important for everyone to be nice to one another as these plans may develop. Dan Hamilton has been on the job for like 3 months, and so the development and planning of these kinds of things is a half-done work in progress. I don't fault him, that's just the reality of time and space. I don't want to jump things either with my commentary. So let's all work together as a county, as leaders. This is not an us versus them, but an all for one and one for all. God bless the King George Renaissance, where water and sewer issues continue to be worked on and improved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Has anyone received any correspondence? Is there anyone online?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. So I will close public comment and we'll move on to reports of the members of the board. Mr. Stroud, are you ready?
Yes, sir. But I have a.
Someone just tried.
Do what?
Are you speaking to us, sir?
Yeah, sorry. Someone clicked the raise hand after he passed by.
You have someone that'd like to speak?
Yes, we have a TM online.
Mr. Chair, I would just reopen.
Yes, so we'll reopen public comment. You can tell them to go ahead.
All right, TM, go ahead. You'll need to unmute your microphone.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. This is Terry Morgan, Shiloh District. I just wanted to say a couple words in reference to the way I feel that the data centers, battery, and solar projects are approaching our community. I feel like we need to refer back to when we had children. When we told our children no, no meant no. When we told our children stop, stop meant stop. And it was for the welfare of the all. We can't tell our children stop when they're running towards a street and hope they stop. We need to be able to tell them stop, they stop, and we need to be able to tell a child no, and they know what that means. With these data centers, batteries, and solar projects, it seems like we tell them no, and they go in the corner like a petulant child, hold their breath, stomp their feet, and whine that they want to come back because they didn't like our answer of no. I think that we need to realize that our agricultural districts, Shiloh, and all the agricultural land that we have in Shiloh is important to us. And when we say no, no is what we mean. We don't have to always appease all of these companies. That's not our job and it's not our purpose. And we need to keep that in focus. And that's all I'd like to say right now.
Thank you. While we're open, anybody else getting the itch? Nobody? All right. Chris Deloach, you had something to say? You're good? All right. I will close public comment this time. Go back to reports of members of the board. Mr. Stroud, you're still up.
Yes, sir. I have a motion,
Sir.
that I need to make. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Supervisors adopt the following motion. The Board of Supervisors pursuant to 15.2-2212 of the Code of Virginia and Article 3, Section 1E of the King George County Planning Commission bylaws hereby removes Mr. Kevin Myers from the King George County Planning Commission for failing to meet the required attendance standards, specifically having been absent more than 4 times without excuse during the previous 12-month period. This removal is effective immediately. The clerk to the board is directed to provide written notice of this section in accordance with the county policy and applicable law.
Motion.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do have 2 questions concerning that.
Ms. Bender?
Has Mr. Myers been reached out to find out why he was absent?
He has.
He has reached out to?
No, I spoke to him.
Oh, okay. And then my 2 other questions, do you have a replacement? Because I know you have 2 missing slots in your district. Or looking at somebody,
I'm not planning to replace him immediately.
okay. I was just concerned because I want your district represented because you have 2 open slots.
Okay, thank you.
And then my second question is I know we were sent information, and is there another member that might have missed that many meetings? Did we?
There may be. We may want to, if we want to discuss it after we vote on this or not, I don't know. It's not one of mine.
Right. I know that. I'm just asking that question so that we're across the board for everybody in the same rules.
I'll head off that conversation. There is another member. He spoke to me a while back. He explained what the problem is. I'm not going to bring up his name or embarrass him right now. He may choose to take himself off the board if he can't continue.
I'm not trying to bring up names. I'm just asking to be fair across the board.
So we have motion properly second by roll call. Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thank you, sir. So I've got some comments, I guess, for some of the people that came and spoke. But thanks to everybody for speaking. But so, Aaron, appreciate your comments about the noise levels regarding the GEV, and we had met with them before the last, which I think we reported in our previous meeting, but myself and Bill had met with them, and they had mentioned about the generators, and we spoke to them and asked them about that, and they said they're using, and they did brief last time, they were using generators. What they said they were using was level 4 generators, which are supposed to have like a 50 to 60 or 60 to 70 decibel. It's a low decibel noise level for the level 4. It's supposed to be equivalent to like normal conversation. Now I don't know what that is when you combine a few of them together. So it's hard to believe it's normal conversation, but they are supposed to be the newest technology sound level. And the gas turbines, which you had mentioned, which use the natural gas, I think they have proposed or hope to get. Now that has to get approved. When I say get approved, I mean, it's difficult to pipe in natural gas. It'd be nice if they did. I think it'd be nice to have natural gas available in the industrial district for the economic development guys. But if they are able to do that, then the natural gas or the gas turbines are actually supposed to be quieter than the diesels. But that's just what we're told and what I had looked up and read on that. So, but they did say they were going to use that for power until they got electrical in there. That was what they were saying, I think, as a part of their. Miss Tootie Moncure, you mentioned cheap farmland. I was curious where that was. We can talk about it afterwards. And then Ms. Carrie Morgan dialed in and spoke about the data centers in Shiloh. She mentioned Shiloh, if you're still on, Carrie. But she told a story about, telling your children no and meaning no. And I'm sure we've all dealt with that. I did too. But we also have dealt with people using a credit card, you telling them to stop using it, and they kept using it. So whenever the county votes in new schools, we build new courthouses, and we have these expenses, we still have to pay those as well. So whenever we say one thing, we also have to consider the other implications. If the county citizens, it went to vote, county citizens voted to build a new school. Now, whether we build it or not, that's what they said. So they're still spending money, but, where's the money coming from? That's what we have to deal with. So, as we said before, we want to hear all sides. We want to hear the public comment. But if you offer a problem, because we do that, we've got these challenges, then I invite you to also offer a solution. Okay? So if you offer to build a new school, then please offer the solution to pay for the new school at the same time, and it'll help us all out. I would like to thank the King George Fall Festival Committee. Went out to the Fall Festival, rode in the parade, and had a great time out there. Thankfully, the weather kind of cleared up for us. It was kind of rainy in the morning, but it cleared up. We had a good time. Chunked a lot of candy. This year I was more prepared than last year, and still wasn't enough, but chunked a lot of candy. And then still handing it out over at the schoolhouse. So went over to school, couldn't take 3 steps without running into somebody and talking to people. Had a great time over there, had some good food. The food trucks did real well. I don't know if they ran out of food. They had enough whenever I was there, but had a great time, and I wanted to thank everybody there, and especially Miss Denise Alger. I'm pronouncing it right, Alger, but Miss Denise, with her coordination and helping us out, helping me out specifically. I appreciate it. And with that, that's all I got to say about that. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Bender.
Thank you very much. Aaron, I have an answer to one of the questions you asked, because I actually reached out to Green Energy Ventures the next day and asked them where did that natural gas appear from, because that's the first time I ever heard of it. So I told them when they come back, they need to have a little more information, because then I called someone who does permitting at DEQ to ask for more information about how they permit those generators and turbines, especially gas-powered turbine. So I'm waiting to see their next presentation and the information that Green Energy Ventures gives, not only in what is the plan, how many generators you're going to use, but where are they getting the natural gas from? Because right now, we've talked about it for years in the industrial park, but there is no natural gas there on a permanent basis. So I'm waiting to see what their plan is when they come back to see us. So I just wanted to answer that. And I thank everyone who's come and speak, and the one person online. And I also want to congratulate Terry Rinko and the King George County Schools for the new partnership with the Rappahannock Goodwill and local business leaders, expanding the opportunities for students to move from the classroom directly into careers. And King George High School will host the Independent Electrical Contractors Chesapeake's first in the state apprenticeship program. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I know it was highlighted in the Freelance Star recently and a lot of stuff on social media. I attended monthly meetings with the Dahlgren Heritage Museum, the King George Historical Society, and Healthy Generations, and I did get to go visit the Caledon solar site with the applicant, and there is another solar project that I still have to reconnect with them. I was not able to go out on that site visit on the day I had a conflict, so I will catch up with them, because I like to be on the ground and see the sites before it comes for a presentation and is presented. It was great to see the good turnout at the Fall Festival and all the smiling faces lining the parade route. As always, I ran out of candy. I got more candy, but unfortunately, I still ran out of candy. I think we get too excited throwing the candy out, and then we bring huge bags and we still run out. I spoke to citizens and answered their questions on many topics. It's surprising, even at a band performance, people are hitting you up about data centers and stuff. So it's interesting how, the questions they ask and where they find you to ask the questions. And I want to thank the Fall Festival Committee for putting it together, and our Sheriff's Department, Fire and Rescue, Parks and Rec, and staff for their support. And a shout out to the community engagement booth run by Ms. Southall. I kept going in and out of that high school several times, and her booth had a lot of people, especially voting for the Scarecrow contest. If I remember right, Heritage Hall won, so congratulations to everyone who entered, and that she keeps bringing more newer ideas that the community is getting behind. So it was good to see everybody coming to her booth. And then as I said earlier, I did attend the Historical Society meeting with a discussion was had on next steps for what we're doing with the old courthouse. And with that in mind, I wanted to bring up again with next year, when we have our new board seated, whatever that makeup is, that we have a work session where we can start mapping out a master plan for what we do with all the buildings we have. How do we move departments and lease buildings and possibly build new structures? And then with that, what is our plan for creating a timeline on how to fund what we decide on and what we're actually doing? So that is just one thing I just wanted to bring out for next year. And with that plan, we can create that timeline and, decide on how we fund it in the process. And what are the plans costs, the renovation, operating costs, and new construction costs all need to be factored in. And then lastly, I meant to do this last board meeting, but I forgot. I wanted to thank Mr. Bryce Young, who's our county engineer, for all of the work that he's done recently, actually over the last year, helping, and now with myself and Norm, and then Mr. Hamilton now, getting some of those consent order items erased. He's done a lot of work, especially while in my time as general manager, with the pump stations, working with DEQ to get that off of our agenda. He's done a lot of work, and I just wanted to publicly thank him for that. And that is the end of my board report. Thank you.
Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank everyone who've come out. It's good to see everyone. First, I'd like to read from Theodore Roosevelt's speech on one 23rd of April, 1910, which was 16 pages long, but I'll cut it down to one paragraph. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of the deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end triumph of high achievement, and in the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. I've always enjoyed that. It comes from the man in the arena speech. And it basically says what I just said. When Pastor Davis was here, he talked about a lot of things, but he talked about influence. So the influence that I have on the board is to praise the Lord. That's the purpose of everything, that all the decisions I make. As I prepare to leave this spot, I'd like to thank Ms. Fish, who pulls everything together all the time, and your folks too. I'd like to thank Kelly and Kenny and your crew. You've had a lot on y'all's plate since y'all have been on board. Every day is a new day with 10 million more applications for everything. So thank you for everything you do. Thank you to the sheriff and his folks for keeping us safe. I'd like to thank the building and grounds folks who work for the county, who keep everything going around here, the air conditioning, heating, making sure the buildings are clean and so forth. Finance, Ms. Cobb, Ms. Dillard, and your crew, who every year we ask a lot of y'all, all the contracts put out, and also with the budgeting, and you all come through. It's good to see Ms. Cobb in charge, Ms. Dillard, right-hand lady, and the other folks that you have. Just want to thank you so much for your work. Ms. Amy Southall from Tourism does a great job. She has done a lot of things to kind of bring us King George into the fold. Even though I've always told Amy I don't like our new logo, everything else she does is great. But and Mr. Dines, he's now hiding in the back, and his folks up there at IT that always keeps everything going on time. I'd like to thank the folks that work for the Water Authority, who are out day and night. Mr. Franklin, folks at Social Services, you all do a great job. You do a job that not everybody sees, but we all appreciate, and like to thank you and your group. I'd like to thank Norm, who's here and no longer a county employee, but was very instrumental in getting a lot of things rolling. And I talked to him not long ago. He said he's enjoying his retirement, and I said I would love to see you come back for one day a week before I leave in December. And he said, you'll have to talk to my wife. And I talked to her, and she said, that'd be great. Because apparently she's done with him. The engineering office, Mr. Bryce Young, I'd like to thank all the work that you've done, getting all these projects in line. I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate your work. And all the other county workers that I failed to mention, I'd just like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your daily work does not go unnoticed by myself or members of the board. And I forgot the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and all the elected officials. I'd like to thank all the elected officials too, that keep this county running on a daily basis. You know, we're very fortunate in King George when you look around at other counties and you look at some of the problems they have from our neighbors to the north in Maryland and to their up there in Spotsylvania and Culpeper and Stafford. You see all the problems that are happening there. When you talk about the data centers, they seem to have gotten their fill up there in Stafford and Spotsylvania. They're now working on changing their ordinances to make things right. Whereas your Board of Supervisors in King George foreseen that those problems occurring and stepped out and addressed them, have addressed them, and will continue to address them. Mr. Hamilton, your folks, like I said, do a great job. It's good to see you here. We have a face that's running a department, somebody to complain to. I'm hoping great things because I am a customer. Keep my bills down. Whoever gets my spot, keep the bills down. So I'd like to thank everyone, and that'll be the end of my time. Thank you.
Lee Robotham.
I don't have anything for the group. We can move on. I'm good. Thank you.
Mr. Sullins.
All right, thank you. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We've got a good crowd, and it's always fun to see folks that are actually interested in what's going on around the county. So thank you for giving us your time. What's up? Okay. Thank y'all for coming out. The stuff that you've been paying me for the last few weeks, I won't go into a lot of detail, but got to have a meeting with the county administrator a couple weeks ago on the topic of arbitrage. We're going to be actually speaking about that later tonight, so I'm not going to go into detail. I got to go and meet with or at least briefly, I was very late. I apologize for that, to the Library Board of Trustees and thank them for being good stewards of the property and actually calling us out and letting us know when there's mold and stuff in the building and taking care of that. Got to attend Local Government Day and speak to Ms. Anderson's advanced government class, which was a blast. I want to thank Ms. Anderson for that invitation, and thanks to the parents. Y'all are raising some good kids. I'll be honest with you, when I was campaigning, I went in there and those kids were not as friendly, but this time they were amazing. They asked very intelligent questions. They were very respectful. It truly was a fun event. So thanks to the parents for raising good kids. Thanks to the kids for actually caring and getting involved. So that was fun. Got to go to the Fall Festival Parade / for me, fun run. If you went to the parade, then you saw me jogging because my ride took off and left me. So that was kind of, that was different, but had a lot of fun. I needed the exercise anyway. My wife, I was afraid we were going to kill her, bless her heart, but she hung in there and did amazing. I don't know if you got to see that. That was cool too. What else? Kathy Bender, Ed Frank from he's my counterpart, the at-large school board member, and Kathy Hoover got to meet with Dr. Boyd, the superintendent of King George Schools, to talk about some upcoming stuff. We've been trying to do some of these, we call them 2x2s. As long as we keep it to 2 or less, we can have meetings. If we have 3 of any board member, that's a quorum. So we're legal. We're able to do some staff work and discuss some things. And then other members will meet, at different times, and then we'll kind of compare notes. But one of the things that came out of that is the priorities for the school board. Their number one priority is a CTE building, Career Technology Education building. It's going to cost about $20 million at build out, and that's just for the building, not the equipment inside, not the staff, not the teachers. Very expensive. The next priority is the elementary school, which is probably going to cost more than the $20 million building, but hopefully less than the $57 million referendum that was passed. And then another piece, am I echoing or is that just in my head? Okay, thank you. At least there's something up there now. So anyway, another thing that they want is to add preschool services at all the elementary schools. This comes at a bit of a cost because they're teachers and paras and whatnot. It's relatively low cost, but there is a cost. The whole point that I'm making there is educating our kids isn't free. And Mr. Davis, I think, has already alluded, and Mr. Stroud have alluded to the fact that, we've got some costs coming up, so we can't keep saying no to everything that comes along. that theme's going to come back in a few minutes. Got to do a site visit at the proposed Powhatan Solar Project. That was fun getting to meet those folks, neat people. I'm looking forward to hearing back from them later. And then attended the FAMPO meeting last night virtually. Finally, Mr. Chair, having voted on the prevailing side when the application number Z 2024-00219, the Davis Hill development on Daisy Lane Solar was denied at the October 7th, 2025 meeting, I move that we reconsider the vote on application Z-2024-00219 at a future meeting. This is not to say that I want to pass it. I'm saying I want to keep it on the table that we can go back and revisit that at a future meeting.
Have a motion on the floor. All right, motion dies, Mr. Sullins. All right, up to me. Mr. Stroud, you had something else you wanted to say?
Did. So, but the motion, to understand first the last motion, it was a motion to rehear the Daisy Lane, sir?
That's right.
And I second that one.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't want to be rude to my colleague, but we already voted on it. He wasn't listening at the time. But it wasn't seconded. And that's why Mr. Davis paused. And there was no second. And now you're asking for a redo. I mean, I don't mean to be controversial,
Mr.
but
Clark.
Mr. Chair, I think,
There, you can, that motion failed, and if somebody else wants to make a motion, they can make a motion.
I believe Mr. Collins is likely correct that you had a motion, there was no second, it died, but there's nothing keeping you from making the motion again if Mr. Shroud is interested in it. I think per the rules, the motion has to be made by someone who was originally on the prevailing side. And I believe it was 5-0. So
You want to remake a motion, Mr. Strauss? That's why I'm handing you that paper. You can remake the motion again.
Very well, sir. I'll make the motion. Mr. Chair, having voted on the prevailing side when application number 02024000219 Davis Hill Development, Daisy Land Solar was denied at the October 7, 2025 meeting, I move that we reconsider the vote on application Z-2024-00219 at a future meeting.
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Further discussion, Ms. Bender.
yes. When the applicant came, I know some of the arguments have been stated to me for this reconsideration. Mr. Collins and I both asked him directly, do you want to vote tonight? And he said yes. So you have to live with the decision that was made. The other thing concerning the easement holder or the landowner has never been able to speak at a public hearing ever, about this matter, whether or not, so that voice would be heard. But if it was reconsidered, they would be heard. But I just think it sets a really bad precedent. And I do not agree that the applicant came. They had several public hearings. They deferred several times and didn't show up. They're not even here tonight. And we did say no to them. They have a year they could come back and get this easement. Why do we have to reconsider to have them a year? They have a year to work out with this landowner whether we say yes or no. So I'm just putting it out there, and I would like to hear the further discussion.
So you know what's in our bylaws, we can go, you very well know that it's in our bylaws, and we can go back and reconsider these things. The individual in question has been at all of those meetings. She could have come up, made public comments. She could have made a number of comments. I've got phone records, emails, texts, where they demonstrated that they had a reasonable conversation going on back and forth with her for some time until the attorney come in and stopped it. I feel like this is something that if we pass it, it's good for our county. The local residents can actually save 10, 15% on their electric bills if they subscribe and become a part of this. I think this is something that actually can help us out as a county. But I do think that we're well within our rights to say, go back and reconsider.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, while we're discussing this, so that night, Supervisor Bender, I mentioned to you that I think that there should be a pause and that they should have the opportunity to discuss things. The two parties should be able to discuss it to be able to negotiate. And you very animately said no. And so.
Can I respond to that since you directly asked me a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, when I'm done speaking, maybe.
Well, you asked me a question, but I will let you finish and then
I wasn't asking. I said that night that I mentioned that to you.
Correct, but you're not exactly saying, I was more than willing to wait. They came and they asked for a vote. Mr. Collins and I directly asked them, are you looking for a vote? If they had decided, can I defer it again and wait, and we can have further discussion, I would have been all for that, but they asked for a vote and it was no.
Thank you. So I'll finish now. So,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Stroud finished, Mr. Collins.
I'll try to be quick, sir. Or do you go ahead, please? Go ahead.
yielding.
I'll pick up whenever you're done.
So that night, yes, I asked them straightforward, are you looking for a vote on this? Because it was on action, and they said, yes, we're looking for a vote. And I said to them, do you realize that I really want this project, but you're backing me in a corner to get action on this tonight because you hadn't done what was asked of you? And they basically said, yeah, we want to vote. So they backed me in a corner. Though I was very interested in the project, I had to vote no because they didn't do what they were asked to do. So I don't think that reconsidering would be proper.
Sure. So the reason where I was going with that is what I had hoped and mentioned that night was to give them the opportunity to discuss and negotiate, because I'm not confident that the property owner had the opportunity to do that. I'm just not confident. And I think that by us reconsidering, it puts the property owner in a position where if something doesn't happen, then they're going to be in the same situation. They're going to get another no vote. I voted no that night as well, because I'm not going to roll over the property owner's rights. But if the property owner is in a better position to negotiate so they get a better deal, something they're willing to live with out of this, then we're supporting that by allowing that to happen. Right now, she lost all the opportunity. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Clark, are you familiar with this?
Somewhat. Yes, sir.
So, I'll just explain to you and you can explain back to me. So the reason why we voted this down, we weren't exactly against the project, but they did not have come in agreement on the easement. When the company came to us, their attorney basically said that they had 4 years if we approved this to work it out, or they had other means in which to do it, which we knew meant like some sort of legal loophole to force them to do it. And putting this into, if we did revisit this, would that open them up, our county resident, to any litigation any further than?
I don't think so. Just off the top of my head, to answer your question, I don't think so. It would take probably a little more thought and some research to it, but I don't think so. If the question is, would the property owner be open to some sort of litigation if you were to reconsider? I don't believe so. Your bylaw certainly allow you to reconsider. The issue of the easement, from what I understand it, is between two private parties. Obviously, the board has no interest in that. The board's only interest in it would be whether or not to grant the project. Or grant, if it was a special exception permit, I assume was what the application was for.
Right.
Then the board's only dog in that fight would be whether or not that particular project fit all of the standards that the board is supposed to consider in the ordinance, period. Whether or not two private parties decide to sue each other for any reason, that shouldn't be a board consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I do have one more question.
Yes.
Because during the meeting, I directly asked them about the federal subsidies, and they admitted this has to do with partially the federal subsidies that they had to have a vote on by December 31st of 2025, and a summer of 2026, they have to be under construction to receive them. So with this reconsider, how fast is this reconsideration, and when would it occur? Because obviously, if that is true, what they said they were looking for these subsidies, they would have to have a vote in the affirmation by December 31st of 2025.
Mr. Solons?
I can go after him.
It all has to do with the property owner having the ability to get a better deal. That's my point.
There are 3 property owners at the end of that road that we're talking about that are landlocked by this thing. If she negotiates, she can stand to get something good out of this. If she doesn't, there's potential that she could end up having to go to court. Any one of those 3 property owners could take her to court regardless of what we do. If we go about this, if they're able to get their differences settled and come back, this is good for all parties. Our residents save money on their electric bills. This lady stands to gain some money, and there's a small project that's going to happen in the county that's not going to affect anybody in a negative way.
Bender.
But my point comes back to me, they said this gives them a chance to renegotiate, but if the timeline is December 31st, then that's going to be pressure on our citizen. We'll have to have a lawyer and pay fees that they've already paid. I'm just concerned about that, and that sets a precedent for other projects and to force people to sign easements quickly for the greater good.
We have a motion seconded, sir.
Motion made, Mr. Collins?
Are you calling the question?
You say motion was made and properly seconded, is what he said. All right, we'll vote by roll call. Mr. Collins?
So the motion is to rehear it?
Yes, sir.
Nay.
Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Nay.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
All right. I guess the biggest thing on this is the project itself. Do we like it? Did it meet the standard? It does meet the standards of something that we would like. It doesn't give lower electric bill to everyone in King George. It's a small handful of people that sign up for it. I'll vote yay. Motion passes to reconsider. All right, closed. All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. And actually, I didn't close the public comments for ourselves because I came up. I didn't thank anyone. Thank the Fall Festival Committee. It's one of the best fall festivals we've had in a very long time. A lot of people enjoyed it. And thank you to all of our people out there that work hard. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do you have a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented in the packet.
Second.
Motion probably second. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Collins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Bender, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Are we up to you now already? Is there any constitutional officers here that want to speak? Come on, Regina.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Good evening to you.
I have 2 items. The first one is to update the ordinance for personal property. In 2016, it was decided, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I am Regina Puckett, Commissioner of the Revenue, sir.
Thank you. For the record.
Thought process. So I need to update the personal property ordinance because in 2016, that was the last year that we sent the personal property forms. And it was decided back then it cost more to send them because of postage kept increasing. And the amount that we got back wasn't sufficient to keep sending them. It was decided that we rely on the DMV records and the taxpayers to come into our office to update their records. So that's been working very well for our office. However, it is state code. We found out that it reads, we shall have the taxpayers file a return every year unless we have an ordinance that says we do things in an alternate way. So that's what I need to update. The process has been working perfectly, but we just need the ordinance to say so, to say what we need. And I believe that you each got a copy of it so that you can look it over. And so what I need to do is just start the process. I believe there has to be a public hearing or something. Mr. Stewart has been working with me on this one.
Any questions for Ms. Regina?
The second item is to update our transient occupancy tax ordinance. There's been a lot of Airbnb, lodging tax, things like that, where there's an intermediary which sends us checks and we have no idea where to apply it to. So the commissioners all need to put it in their ordinance and adopt this form that needs to be filed once a year, attestation form, which I have emailed, but I don't think it was in time for you all to receive it and to look at it. So I've updated it to reflect our information on this form that all the commissioners are going to be using. And it states that the host will fill it out to let us know who is going to be filing on their behalf. And that all just needed to be in our ordinance as well. So there's a paragraph that says they have to file this one form once a year and that a remittance has to be sent to us by the 20th of every month. So everything's the same pretty much except for that form. Any questions on that? And that again is just starting the process so you guys know what's going on and get the public hearing going, I suppose.
Any questions for Ms. Regina?
No, I just have a quick question, Mr. Chair. So this has to be, do we have to make a motion, Mr. Clark, because we don't, but we just on the future agenda and public hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Bender, it'll have to be advertised at some point in time, but you don't need to make a motion today.
We good? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Bender, it's up to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will open the Board of Directors meeting, and do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? A motion properly seconded. Any discussion? By roll call vote, Mr. Robotham? Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Solons?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. We have very light agenda this week, but we do have a general man. Oh, I did forget one thing. I would like to make a motion myself to amend the agenda to add Imboden's utility report so they could at least come up and answer any questions. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Seconded, motion seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. And I would ask Mr. Mark Imboden to come up. Sorry, I fumbled your name there for a minute. Come up and give your report.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Good to see you all. No fancy slideshow presentation for you tonight, rather uneventful September. We do have, that is our report that we issue every month. So a lot of details in there, but in the essence of time, happy to take any questions from the board if you have any.
Do you have any questions for me, the board members? I do want to ask you some questions about our plants and the work that's been done to cleaning, especially Dahlgren and Perkins. How are the plants operating now, especially our troubled children?
Yeah, the troubled children, they're operating well. Perkins is still giving us some issues, but as you know, Perkins is under a consent order. So a lot of the issues that were cited in that consent order, we're still dealing with those. We have seen some unusual, very abnormal influent coming into Perkins that is causing some issues, upsetting our treatment plant, causing some inhibition there. But overall, plants are performing well. The only issue for the month of September was the Perkins plant, but all other wastewater treatment plants are within permit compliance with their DEQ permits.
In Dahlgren especially, how has it been operating since the robot did its job?
I would say we've progressed. I mean, it's normal operations. It's meeting the DEQ permit requirements. There are a few other things that were cited in the engineering report that the county will need to address and carry on. But overall, operations are going well.
Well, I want to thank you, and thank you in BOD for helping us operate our plants. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next up is the general manager's report from Mr. Dan Hamilton.
Good evening, folks. My name is Dan Hamilton. I'm the general manager of the Service Authority. I do want to thank Mark for his report. I will point out there was a minor issue with operation there that's certainly not related to Bowden. Our solid waste that comes from the process typically gets shipped and delivered to the landfill that's operated by Waste Management. And unfortunately, due to some miscommunications related to staff that aren't here anymore, I think they did not have the proper information they needed to continue accepting that waste. So we've had a period of about 3 weeks where we've had a solids buildup. It's all contained in dumpsters and things like that. But it's kind of hampered our normal routine operations. We've got that resolved. It required some testing and just some paperwork to be filled out. You have to basically create a manifest which documents your generation of potentially hazardous material or non-hazardous material, which is what it is, before it can be accepted at the landfill. So I don't want to pretend that that's not been an issue, but it's been resolved. There's no cost impact. There's nothing like that. It was just a bureaucratic issue that needed to be straightened out. So other than that, I'm going to keep my comments very short tonight. I do want to point out that, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, we are transitioning from using the, I want to call it ACI, billing collection service that we were coordinating through the treasurer's office. It was causing a lot of complaints about the lack of ability to accept auto payments and telephone payments and not efficient updating of customer accounts. Effective November 1, we do have Muni Billing reassuming those duties as part of their service. That will basically be something we don't really expect customers to notice, in the sense that when you go to the website to pay the bill and click pay your bill on a link, it's just going to take you to a different portal. But that is going to be effective November 1. It will accept electronic payments and immediately update your account. It will accept telephone payments and immediately update your account. It will also routinely, as in every day or every other day, transfer money back to our accounts with the treasurer's office. So there really won't be any impact. We expect it to be much more efficient. It will also accept auto pay, which I forgot to mention, and there have been a lot of complaints about that. We are going to send out a notice either this Friday or next Monday. November the 1st is the following Saturday, so about 4 or 5 days ahead of time, we're going to send out an alert, both with KG alerts and also with Muni Billing. We have an ability to send an email and or text message to any customers that are enrolled in that. We're going to do that. And then we're also going to coordinate with community engagement and make sure that there's notes on the website at a minimum to remind customers of that. And just in case anybody has this question, we will and will always accept payments in person at the treasurer's office or via U.S. mail. Those currently go to the treasurer's office as well. None of that has changed. We're not taking away your ability to have a paper bill and get a paper check, but we would prefer that people go to electronic billing. It gets away from postage expense, which we pay for, and it's just much more efficient. So other than that, we had 3 water leaks in the last 2 weeks, a relatively small number, seems to be consistent with my first few months here. 2 of those were in the Presidential Lake subdivision, were service line leaks, though not large diameter breaks. And then one of them was in the Dahlgren system, I believe, over the weekend. That was fixed on Sunday evening as well. But that's it for those. I did attend a coordination meeting with the folks up in Stafford County that included people from Caroline and Westmoreland who are in the water and wastewater business for the different counties. We were communicating directly with staff from the Department of Health about their current policies and procedures related to reporting outages in water service. That is a good networking opportunity. And it kind of leads me into what I also mentioned 2 weeks ago. I expect at our next meeting to present to you a resolution to join what's called Virginia Warn, which is an organization that incorporates about 100 utilities in Virginia, where we provide mutual aid services to each other in the event of some type of emergency or disaster or need for staff or equipment or parts or things like that. There will not be any cost to join this. It's something that has been researched and approved by attorneys. I'll certainly run it by Senator Stewart, but I don't expect there to be any problems with that. Otherwise, I do want to also point out that today is my 3-month anniversary, as Pastor Shaw pointed out. I've still got lots to learn, but I do expect to present a 90-day report with some recommendations kind of following up the 45-day report I submitted a month ago. I expect to present that at our next meeting, which I believe is Monday, the 3rd of November. And other than that, I'll be happy to take any questions and appreciate everybody's patience.
I do have one, and I know Mr. Davis, it's on his mind, is the Dahlgren water leak.
In terms of the disparity between the amount being pumped and the amount being billed. We are still tracking that. I have begun to make some inquiries with some of the commercial. I have a list of about 120 large diameter commercial accounts there. I'm going to have to seek a consultant to come in and assist us. We just simply don't have the resources to do that. And the amount of water that is apparently missing, again, I'm not convinced it's leaking. I suspect there is some issue with either inaccurate meters or a connection to phantom accounts. But it's a revenue loss that we've got to address, and it's been going on for a couple of years, or potentially. So I don't have any firm update yet, but it's probably about in the top 2 things of what I need to achieve in the near future.
And I know this is very important for economic development and with our DEQ permits. So do you think you'd have at least maybe some choices or options for us by the next meeting that we could bring before the board?
Yes.
All right.
I'll make that.
Thank you. Any of my colleagues have any questions? All right. That Sully left for a second, but with that, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. I will open for a secondary public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. Please provide your full name and district when submitting your public comment so that it can be properly recorded and included in the public record. Would anybody like to come up and give a secondary on the service authority only? All right. Is there anybody online?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. With that being said, I will close secondary public comment. Did any of my colleagues get any in the few minutes we've been up here? Okay. With that, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn the Board of Directors to Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 5:30 in the boardroom in the Rivercombe Building.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Davis, the floor is yours.
On me.
We just voted on.
Solar stuff. Oh, yeah. It's fascinating. All right. Next up, we have a public hearing, 10-11, Cowdown Solar. Mr. Tyler, you'll come up in a moment. King George County Board of Supervisors now hold a public hearing that's been properly advertised to receive it. It's not. That's what I have on here. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It's above that. 10-10, sorry, we'll scratch all that. Public hearing for 10-10, application number Z-2025-00302. King George County Mortuary Service LLC rezoning. Ms. Lucy Tuthill, you'll be up. I'll first ask the staff to report, and then open up public comment. At that time, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Give everyone a chance to speak, state where you live, where you vote. At the completion of public comment, I'll bring the matter back to the board to consider. Lucy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
One of my favorite people in the county.
Thank you. So good evening, Chairman Davis and members of the board. For anyone who might not know me, I'm Lucy Tuthill. I'm a planner at Community Development. So David Stork, he is the owner of King George Mortuary Service, LLC. he has requested the rezoning of 27.5 acres from A2 to C1. The property is approximately 78.4 acres, and the remaining 50 acres is already zoned C1. No change in use is proposed. Currently, this is a legal non-conforming funeral home and death services. This is because it has been functioning as a funeral home since 1983, and it became legal non-conforming when zoning came into play in 1989. So this application seeks to rectify a parcel that is currently split zoned. This leads to a clearer land use situation and would make this business conform to our current zoning requirements. This property lies within the Route 3/301 settlement area as designated in the comprehensive plan. And a major goal of this section in the comp plan is to promote a diverse, healthy, and sustainable economy. And I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have. And if I may introduce David Stork, the applicant, he is attending virtually. He also has Ivy Spicer, who is here in person.
Thank you, Lucy. Can you hear me?
I can.
Chairman Davis, members of the board and staff, thank you so much, first of all, for letting me participate virtually. This year I had the pleasure of serving as the president of the Virginia Cemetery Association, and I am in Knoxville, Tennessee at a conference that was scheduled back in January, long before I knew of your meeting tonight. So I sincerely apologize for not being there in person. So my name is David Stork, 115 Maury Avenue, Bowling Green, Virginia. I own Stork Funeral Home and Historyland Memorial Park in Arboretum. The land is actually under an LLC called King George Mortuary Service, LLC, which I am the owner of. It's been my pleasure to be affiliated with King George all my life. I'm an 11th generation Virginian. My 11th great-grandfather came to King George, came to Miss Bender's district of Shiloh long before it was a district or it even was a county. And my parents, my brother and his family still live on a portion of that land grant there in the Shiloh district. In 2016, just as in way of just some brief background, in 2016, after owning a funeral home in Caroline for over 25 years, I had the extreme pleasure of purchasing the former Nash and Slaw Funeral Home in 2016. The following year, in 2017, I purchased the then Historyland Memorial Park, which was in receivership. It had been in bankruptcy. So I took that over the following year. In 2019-20, I went through the planning department and the board of supervisors to add crematories as an accessory use to a funeral home operation, which you all granted, and we've been operating a crematory since then. One thing, when I purchased the funeral home in 2016, it was a little over 34 acres of land. And most of you are familiar with the large field out front, the funeral home in the parking lot, then the large field in the back, and then a fair amount of wooded acreage behind that. And at the time, I assumed it was zoned for business C1. When I purchased the cemetery in 2017, it was 60 to 70 acres. 17 acres of the cemetery, which was the open portion, the cemetery where burials are. 17 acres was open, and the balance was all wooded behind, and all of the cemetery property was zoned C1. In 2019, when I started to investigate putting a crematory immediately behind the funeral home building, I then found out that the funeral home building and parking lot was agricultural, A1. And so when Mr. Tolliver moved the funeral home there in 1983, it was before zoning. And then in 89, when the county came through and did some zoning issues along 301, they created about a 3-acre parcel right along 301, thereabouts 3 acres of commercial. But the parking lot and the funeral home building and the land behind it was A1. And I found this out because I was told I could not put the crematory building immediately behind the funeral home where I wanted it because it was a non-conforming use. It was grandfathered. I could still operate as a funeral home, but I could not do anything to add to the structure or build anything new. So the planning staff at the time was very nice and said, here's what you need to do, and it'll be an administrative thing. We'll just dissolve since all the land is owned by the one entity, the LLC, we'll just dissolve the line in between the funeral home property and the cemetery property. It makes it all one, and then you can build your crematory building just across the line on what was then the cemetery property and move ahead. And that was fine and has worked fine ever since. The issue is I now want to do some work to the funeral home building. As hopefully most of you all know, I've invested quite a bit of money and time into improving the funeral home, major improvements in the cemetery. And I want to build a pole barn type structure behind the funeral home for vehicles. I want to do a portico on the front of the funeral home with a handicap ramp because it's basically an old brick rancher house that has 3 steps to go into where the offices and the bathrooms are, and then steps to go down into the chapel. I know many of you have been there before. So, but I can't do anything to my building because it's grandfathered, but I can't make any changes. So what I'm asking is to move the C1 all the way back and make all of the property C1. And I appreciate the planning staff. They've been great, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Collins?
Mr. Stork, can you hear
Yes.
me? So the funeral home that you have in Bowling Green, when you bought that, what was that building?
It was a funeral home when I bought it. It was it had been many things over the years, but it was zoned B1 in Bowling Green.
And you invested heavily in that funeral home over there, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you bought the funeral home in King George, and you invested heavily in that, correct?
Yeah, there were a lot of modernization type things that needed to be done. And we've improved a lot of things about the functionality of the funeral home. Obviously, with the cemetery next door, we've invested heavily. And I will say, a number of our staff members reside in King George. The Stork family is committed to King George County, obviously, by our length of time there. I have a son that's in mortuary college right now, so luckily I've got a second generation coming on. So we will continue to invest in serving the citizens of King George.
So when you bought the cemetery, it was, do they call it receivership? It went bankrupt and it was in full disrepair because the person that owned it before stole everybody's money. Is that correct?
Yeah. The court put it into receivership, and it eventually went back to the owner before, Mr. Lewis Harink, whose daughters, he passed away and his daughters did not want it. It was in jeopardy of closing. The reason I bought it was because they called me and said, we're getting ready to close the cemetery, which I don't even know what that means, but we stepped in because it is next door to our funeral home. And hopefully you all can notice a big difference in how it looks, acts, and operates.
Yes, that was my next point. So you've done a great job with the cemetery. You've obviously invested a lot of money in the cemetery. You've also invested money in the crematory behind the cemetery, a great deal of money. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And
that building, that structure was a little over $500,000.
And so the funeral home itself that you own on that property, you want to put a portico in so people don't get wet, and what funeral homes do, they make people comfortable, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the pole building in the back, you wouldn't see anyhow, is that correct?
Well, with the topography back there, once you drove into the parking lot, you could probably see some of it, but it's not going to be an unsightly structure. It's just going to be better. When I bought the funeral home, there was no garage facilities, and so in an effort to have something to put these $100,000 hearses under, I got one of those metal shed companies to come out and put one up that doesn't require a building permit, and we would have got them out of the weather. So that's in full display now, and it's not the most attractive thing. So whatever I build for the vehicles, it will definitely be more attractive than that.
Okay, so my point of all these questions is that Mr. Stork has invested a large amount of money in King George community and Caroline. He is a local. He went to King George schools and he's highly invested. He should be living in King George, but there's nothing we can do about that at this point because his wife is from Caroline. But my point of the matter is everything he's done has been extremely beautifies everything. So, and this would make it in conformity to make that one spot there the C1. So I think it would be very reasonable to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a few things. It may be more for Lucy, I'm not sure, but that land that we're going to zone to C1, what's its usability right now as far as, I know the property that backs up that property very well. I know there's a lot of waterways. I know there's things there that directly feed ponds. I know that it's backing up to like farmland and a lot of residences. And I know some of that land is even buildable. Like there's a lot of it, they can't even build on it. Do you have any idea what that number is?
I don't have a specific number of buildings that could go there, but I know that we have a steep slope ordinance in the county that prohibits development on anything over 15% of a grade. So if it does have steep topography, that would be something that would limit the potential for development.
Okay. And I don't see anything under C1 that allows like an apartment building or any type of housing like that.
No housing can go in anything C1 or C2. It's only allowed in agricultural and residential zones.
There are, thank you, Lucy. I think you'll be able to answer some of these for me, and I'm going to answer them the best I can. There is, and this is to me, I want to do this. Okay, so this is the Planning Commission. I watched that meeting, so you're safe. I know that a hotel is by right if I make it C1.
I'd like to see the Stork Hotel.
I'm just saying a hotel would be by right. You could put a hotel there if we've. I know the Storks, they buy land, they don't sell land, they keep land, and not worried about that. But I'm just saying, years down the line, it is by right set for a hotel. It is by right would be set for solar energy at a small scale. It's
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
One thing I want to point out, I apologize for interrupting. There is no water and sewer at that property. And I don't know what the county's future, looks like, obviously, but, hotels, things like housing, anything that would fit in that commercial. So just keep that in mind. There is no water or sewer anywhere near that property.
That's good because my next one was a car wash. So I don't want a car. I know the people there don't want that either. They want to keep that, Mr. Stork, they want to keep that as rural as they possibly can, not affecting your business at the same time. I think you know what King George is about.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I will say that came up in the Planning Commission public hearing, it's easy to make jokes about my profession, the funeral industry. It is a industry, but it's a highly stigmatized industry. And with a cemetery with thousands of burials, with a funeral home, it doesn't lend itself to putting other things right beside it. Who would want to fill in the blank right beside a cemetery or a funeral home? So my only thoughts are so that I can make improvements to that existing building and to clean up this little, and that's not an error, but it's clean up this little antiquated zoning issue.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. I do have to ask, because I don't know what this is, but what is home occupation class B?
You want to have a business out of your house?
They just running a business out of your house there?
Correct.
All right. All right. Ms. Bender?
Yes, Mr. Stark, I just want to clarify for the record too. One of the other things you're going to do an improvement, and I've been at several funerals there, your building is not the best accessible for like the bathrooms and that, and you were going to upgrade that also, correct?
Yeah, that is in the plans too. I made some upgrades to the bathrooms from when it was an old house, but it would be much nicer to have both of them handicap accessible. Currently, the women's bathroom is a unisex handicap accessible. So yes, that is correct.
And I know especially the planning commission and some folks had concerns moving it to commercial, that you could put a hotel or car wash or things like that in utility scale solar or even a data center. So that's not anywhere in your wheelhouse?
Absolutely not. And I forget who, maybe Chairman Davis said, if you go back in those woods, it's a lot of topography. And it just doesn't lend itself to build anything on. There's just a tremendous amount of woodlands there, which is just not, usable. So I have no plans. At the planning commission level, it was a little frustrating because at the first meeting and then the planning and at the public comment, a couple of the commissioners who I respect immensely, even at the second meeting, they misunderstood. They thought I was there asking for adding cremation to the zoning, and that just wasn't the case. So I was a little, that's why I was afraid that they didn't really understand what I was asking for, because they obviously, it wasn't clear in their packet, or they thought I was still trying to address the issue, can I have a crematory? And that was settled back, 4 years ago.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stork? You have anything else you want to say? You haven't even spoken. You just came up there and stood. All right. I think we're kind of clear on this. Do I have a motion on this? Oh, actually, I'm sorry. This open.
Public comment.
Already said. All right. Thank you. You can sit down. So open it up to the public for public comment. Is there anyone that would like? I don't have anyone written down. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this matter? Mr. Deloach?
Yeah, Richard Deloach, Shiloh District. I own the land that joins the parcel he's talking about, and I own 50 acres there, and there is water. I was offered that land, see if I wanted to buy it, and I walked that land. I know it's got gullies in it, and it's pretty rough land, but I didn't think it was feasible for me just to own it. But anyway, now I kind of wish I had, but let's just put it that way. But anyway, I worry about the water runoff because there is a stream down there. That stream is my boundary line, part of my boundary line. And that stream runs on down and empties in to our pond that we own further on down, which is right there off of Action Mill Road. And I worry about the runoff from what Mr. Stork's going to do. I don't know exactly what you have in mind. Maybe what you got in mind today is not what you're going to have in mind later on. And that concerns me. And the fact it's going to be commercial, And I kind of, once I got your letter, which I got yesterday, I looked at neighborhood commercial. I never heard of that before, but anyway, I looked it up, and I see it says it's mostly grocery stores, and I don't see anything about hotels or anything like that. But I, I, I got reservations about having commercial joining my property. That's my concern. And I don't know what the tax is going to do for me, all that good stuff, but I worry about what's going to happen later. And that's my concern. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Any correspondence? Anyone online?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. What I'm going to do, I do this every now and then, is I'm allowed, come on back up. You like to? Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Stork is welcome to speak as well, just to address a constituent's concerns that butts up to the property. I don't know.
Yeah.
With some of the things, real quick, Mr. Stork, I don't know, some of the things I've listed. There's a way to ease their mind about what's the possibility of what could be there, but I'll leave that up to, that's your job and Mr. Stork. So.
I will address one thing. I'm not real sure where Mr. DeLoach's land is, but if it's back where I think it is, it currently is adjacent to C1, which is the cemetery. So all of that, all those woods behind the cemetery, which goes all the way back to that stream and to the swampy area, that's already C1. So if you drive in, so I'm not real sure where his land is, but if you drive in the funeral home entryway, of course, you have Mentors on the left, and then they have a piece of property behind that. Then there's another piece of property behind that in the woods, and those three are all commercial as well. There's nothing that's going to be built back. And if he walked that land, which I assume he did, he could see the topography. It's the only reason I'm not asking, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, but I'm not before you to ask you to rezone 27 acres to commercial so that I can do something with it. I'm asking you to fix a problem that was generated before there was a zoning ordinance so that I can make improvements to my existing funeral home. I don't want to move my funeral. I don't want to put another building somewhere where I can adapt to the changing environment of funerals, which is predominantly cremation anymore. I just want to be able to improve. And currently, I can't name anything. I can't do anything to that building. I can't add on another bathroom. I can't do anything because it is grandfathered, but it's not zoned correctly. So that's the relief I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a rezoning of 27 acres to commercial to do anything other than funeral related things.
All right. Any other questions?
So, Mr. Stork, just the constituent talked about runoff. Is there anything you want to address on that?
Well, there is no runoff because if you grant this, I'm not going to do anything. If I add a portico to the funeral home, it's out front in the field. If I add a structure behind it, a pole barn behind it, it's not going to add to any runoff because if you've ever driven back to the funeral home in the parking lot, there's a huge, about a 15-acre grass field behind the funeral home before you even get to the woods. So, I'm not doing anything that would increase or decrease runoff to streams back behind in the woods.
Thank you, Mr. Stork. I think his concern is, and I don't believe you plan to either. I always tell people that storks buy land, they don't sell land. So, and they like to keep in their family. And the Deloach family is the same way. So I think he's not worried about today or tomorrow or 10 years from now. He's worried about down the line, when the people who are here today making decisions aren't here. And there's a few by right issues on that property that I think that's the concern. I know you're not planning on doing anything.
Absolutely, and I can totally understand that. The only thing I would say to ease any fears like that is, it is a cemetery. It is a cemetery there with thousands of dead folks buried in the ground that will never go anywhere away. I have enough land there to keep that cemetery going forever until Jesus comes back. It is so stigmatized by the virtual nature of that industry. The funeral home, it's one of the best, quietest neighbors you could ever have, right? The cemetery, one of the best, quietest neighbors you've ever had. But who would want to stay in a hotel or go to a restaurant that's in the field in front of the funeral home or adjacent to the cemetery? So I think the very nature of the land and its use takes so many things off the table, but it doesn't matter because I'm not doing anything other than funeral related.
So, but the issue here is that it's split zone. And so Lucy, so we're trying to fix the problem that existed before zoning started.
And exactly, Mr. Collins. And so to give you an example, if we wanted to just kick this can down the road, then I would say, all right, move that line back from that little strip. So my C1 now is just, a little patch of grass out in front of the funeral home along 301. All right, just move that line back to encompass the funeral home and the field behind it, and I can work on my funeral home. I can do stuff. But then you still leave that A1 back there in the woods. It just makes no sense that there's no boundary line anymore in between the cemetery property and the funeral home property, yet there's a split zoning that touches some imaginary line that used to be there.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I make a motion?
Mr. Chair, quick point of order. On my checklist, we never closed public hearing. If you can just close that for me, please.
Yeah, public hearing's closed. Public comment's closed. How's that? Good?
Good.
Yeah. You're up.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve application number Z-2025-00302 for King George Mortuary Service LLC rezoning.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Strout. Thank you, Mr. Stork.
Roll call on
Thank you very much.
Need roll call on that, don't you?
All right. So next up,
Mr. Chairman, I think, I'm sorry, I was talking to Mr. Smolin. I think you need roll call on that.
I did
Yeah.
not? Okay, I usually do. Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Ms. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we're at a public hearing on the presentation 1011 Caledon Solar, Mr. Tyler McGilvery. Say it right?
So, Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a point of order?
Sure.
You said public hearing, and this is just a presentation?
This is a presentation. I said presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. You did great. You're up.
Mr. Nines, can you pull up the PowerPoint presentation?
Please.
Am I able to? I'm not sure.
Can't start the presentation. You can't start the slideshow.
We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. Let me fix it. Always do roll call. Tyler, I think they're ready for you, buddy.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate your patience. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Tyler McGilvery, and I'm with Terraform Power, formerly Sun Tribe Development. I was born and raised in the Commonwealth, and for nearly a decade, I've had the privilege of working alongside landowners to preserve their family farms and properties. I got my start in traditional land conservation with the Virginia Outdoors Foundation, and that experience continues to guide my work today. Now I focus on well-sited solar projects like Caledon Solar that deliver real, lasting benefits to the communities that they serve. This is work that I'm deeply passionate about and extremely proud of, and I'm excited to share this project with you tonight. Each of these 4 sections represent attributes of the project that I feel are important to highlight and will be expanded upon throughout this presentation. Caledon will benefit the county. The project will provide $11.3 million in economic benefit over the project life, all without drawing on county services such as school, water, or sewer. This number includes over $3 million in direct revenue to the county. The power produced by this facility will be consumed locally, right here in King George County, and the resiliency of the grid will improve as a result of the project. Caledon will protect the watershed. I'm personally an avid fisherman, and I've spent most of my life in and around the Chesapeake Bay. For me, watershed preservation isn't just a professional priority, but it's also personal. I know firsthand how fragile this ecosystem is and how vital it is to our way of life in the Commonwealth. This site was previously considered for oil and gas development, a permitted use on the property. But this project takes a different approach. By opting for a low-impact form of energy production, we're helping to preserve the watershed and avoiding the environmental and health risks associated with fossil fuel extraction. We're also committed to reestablishing the vegetation in the Chesapeake Bay resource protection areas internal to the site. Caledon will steward the land respectfully. We'll be planting native pollinators on site in accordance with the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation's Pollinator Smart program. Additionally, a dedicated wildlife corridor will be preserved through the site to facilitate animal movement across the property and promote habitat connectivity. Finally, Caledon will be a good neighbor. The project will be well hidden and well screened from nearby roads and properties. Caledon is a known and predictable quantity. This is a passive, quiet, and unlit use with no dust, odor, or noise during operation. Through the remaining slides, I plan to demonstrate how Terraform Power develops solar differently than other projects you may have seen in the county or across the Commonwealth. Oftentimes I get asked, what does this project do for me and my community? As we dig into the project specifics here, I will be addressing each item with that question in mind. The project is located on the north side of Caledon Road, just west of the intersection with Dahlgren Road. It is a proposed 22 megawatt solar facility with no battery component that occupies 122 acres, or just 8.5% of a much larger 1,431 acre private parcel. This is a small facility, but the benefits go far beyond the footprint. The project brings powerful economic upside. It will multiply the property's annual tax contribution by 9 times, all without placing any burden on county services such as school, water, or sewer. That means more revenue coming in, less demands going out, and a meaningful way to keep taxes down for residents. On top of that, the electricity produced here will be consumed locally. At 22 megawatts AC, this project will generate enough power to power 3,500 homes, or roughly 30% of the households in King George County. It is a step towards local energy independence with 0 emissions, and solar is the lowest cost energy generation available today. This project supports Governor Youngkin's all of the above approach to energy generation in the Commonwealth. Having worked for many years in conservation, preserving viewsheds and protecting watersheds is in my DNA. That's why we put so much thought into this project's location, setbacks, and buffering. The facility will not be visible from any roadways, including Caledon Road, which sits half a mile to the south. It's also over 500 feet from the nearest residence to the east, whose viewshed is further protected by newly planted 100-foot wide vegetative buffers. To further limit any impact to neighbors, our design doubled the county's setback requirements for project equipment from property lines from 100 to 200 feet. Finally, this project will connect underground to existing 34.5 kV distribution lines on site along Caledon Road. It's important to note that we're connecting at the distribution level, not the transmission level, which is different from some of the other larger projects that you may have seen in the county. This means no on-site substations and no new transmission lines. The upgrades that we're making are limited to existing structures within existing right-of-ways. You'll see some new equipment, updated fiber and reconductoring of lines, but all within a footprint that's already there. Caledon Solar is reimagining the energy development future for this property. The clean, quiet, and emission-free energy that Caledon Solar will provide is a conservation positive outcome on a property that's slotted for oil and gas extraction. In line with the open space easement and the conservation values shared by both our landowner and Terraform, we didn't want to stop there. That's why the project is going above and beyond in many key areas. Pollinator habitat will be planted throughout the site following the Department of Conservation and Recreation's Pollinator Smart program. We had a third-party consultant who actually helped draft the Pollinator Smart guidelines, conduct a full site suitability analysis. That report confirmed that the land is well sited for pollinator species and was included in our application materials. Vegetation will also be reestablished within the Resource Protection Area Buffers, or RPAs, to strengthen Chesapeake Bay watershed protections. A newly planted buffer that's 100-foot wide will be planted along the project's eastern boundary to mitigate viewshed impacts to the project's only adjacent neighbors. In accordance with King George County's robust standards, this will include deciduous trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. Finally, a wildlife corridor will be maintained through the site per Department of Wildlife Resource guidance to allow unencumbered movement of animals across the property. Again, stewardship of this land is top of mind for us. I've mentioned a few times that Caledon will protect the land and water in King George, but let's take a few minutes to discuss how that's actually realized. Two highlights of this small project. The first, the site is nearly flat. This significantly simplifies construction and minimizes disruption to the natural landscape. Two, only 2.5 acres of trees are required to be removed, and that's limited to 2 small stands within an existing field and a hedgerow. When you account for the new vegetation that the project will introduce, there is still net positive 25 acres. When you don't have to move dirt or clear trees, on-site water management becomes a lot easier. The nearly flat terrain and limited disturbance greatly reduces runoff risks from the project's drainage areas. In terms of water management, there are 2 mechanisms that will be used. Erosion and sediment controls, which are put in place during construction of the facility to keep sediment from leaving the site. This is silt fences, diversion ditches, and sedimentation ponds. Stormwater management facilities are installed to manage the excess rainfall during the project's life. Both of these measures are approved by King George County and the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality and are monitored for compliance during routine inspections. As you can see, the project will be subject to both state and local oversight, which ensures strong protections for the land and nearby waterways. Typical agricultural or silvicultural operations are unregulated and pose the risk for unmanaged runoff. What we're proposing here is a clear improvement. Native grasses, pollinator habitat, reestablished resource protection areas, and purpose-built stormwater features that work together to manage runoff responsibly and protect the environment. Importantly, the facility is over a mile from the Potomac River. It will not impact any streams or wetlands and is safe for both the ecosystems and the people around it. Caledon's promise to be a good neighbor began the moment that we started working with our landowner. And since we'll own and operate this facility, it will continue throughout the project's life. During the development of this project, this has looked like meetings with neighbors and 2 community meetings where we gained valuable feedback. Those meetings are special moments in the process where we get to dig in understand concerns, and improve the project as a result of the feedback. The construction phase of the project is expected to take 8 to 10 months, but only a small portion of that time involves actively building the facility itself, driving piles, assembling racking, and installing panels. For the remaining 5 to 7 months, work on site will be low intensity and low traffic, with the focus on tasks like site stabilization, testing, and finalizing approvals for erosion and sediment control and stormwater management. Throughout this process, a dedicated community liaison will be available to provide updates, answer questions, and ensure that there is a clear line of communication for county residents. We're committed to transparency and minimizing disruption every step of this process. During operation, the project will be a quiet neighbor with basically no traffic, no noise, and 24/7 remote monitoring for safety and performance for the life of the project. At the end of Caledon's operational life, which is expected to be 40 years, the entire facility is required to be decommissioned and removed. At that time, the facility materials will be recycled, salvaged, or repurposed as practical. This decommissioning process requires oversight and approval by the county and will be entirely paid for by the project owner, not the landowner, not the neighbors, and not the county. To guarantee this, the removal is paid for upfront, held by the county, and is updated every 5 years to ensure that the money is available to remove the project when the time comes. After decommissioning, the land, which will still be owned by the landowner and his family, can be returned to its previous use at their discretion. I'll end my time here reiterating the points that I started with. Caledon will benefit the county. The project will provide $11.3 million in economic benefit over the project life. This is over $3 million in direct revenue to the county, including a year one payment of $580,000 per the proposed siting agreement. The power produced by this facility will also be consumed locally, right here in King George County, and the resiliency of the grid will improve as a result of this project. Caledon will protect the watershed. By opting for a low-impact form of energy production, this project helps preserve the watershed and avoids the harmful environmental and health hazards associated with oil and gas extraction and development. We're also committed to reestablishing the resource protection areas internal to the site. Caledon will steward the land respectfully. We'll be planting native pollinators on site and dedicating a wildlife corridor through the site to facilitate wildlife access and habitat connectivity. Finally, Caledon will be a good neighbor. The project is well hidden and well screened from nearby roads and properties. This is a passive, quiet, and unlit use with no dust, odor, or noise during operation. This project is low impact, and it provides significant tangible benefits to King George County. Thank you for your time tonight. Happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you, Tyler. Mr. Collins?
How much is the decommissioning bond?
I believe right now that off of the top of my head, around $500,000. But I would have to check. It was in the application materials.
500,000 this year, right?
Yes, sir.
So how about an escalator? 40 years from now.
That cost estimate is reconsidered every 5 years to make sure that that it's up to date should it need to be used.
So in the exemption permit, rezoning permit, I didn't see an escalator.
That's because it's reconsidered so the cost estimate is updated by a certified engineer every 5 years to make sure that it's current to what it would cost to remove it on a 5-year basis.
So an outside engineer hired by your company will be doing the, how much the decommissioning bond will escalate in 5 years?
It's something that would be so on a 5-year basis, a new decommissioning plan and cost estimate would be submitted to the county with a professional engineer stamp certifying that cost would cover the cost to decommission the facility. So my understanding is that an escalator isn't necessarily required because every 5 years a new cost estimate is being produced.
But wouldn't the county have to approve that new estimate?
Yes, I believe so.
And what if they didn't?
Supervisor Collins, I'm Angela Farugi. I reviewed the application on behalf of the county. We would have to review it every 5 years. If we did not approve it, then there's a shall condition in the ordinance that states that they shall increase their bond amount.
Okay. Thank you.
That's what the 10% is.
Yeah, if it exceeds it by 10%.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You paused for a long time, so.
Well, I was waiting for them to get their stuff together. Mr. Clark?
Yes, sir.
I think all of us have received this documentation from this outside attorney. Have you received that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is your opinion on that?
Without going too much into the weeds, the outside documentation came from a third-party special interest group who has concerns about the open space easement that the applicant just mentioned. There is an easement on the property. That easement is held by the Commonwealth. What I can tell you, Mr. Collins, is that this is a special exception application. The ordinance is very specific on how the board is supposed to approach special exception applications. There are standards in the ordinance that the board is adhered to in terms of considering that, along with the comprehensive plan. If the board starts to consider whether or not an easement would or would not allow a commercial project, then the board starts turning themselves into a bit of a court where you're taking evidence from one party saying, oh, well, this is not allowed, and evidence from another party where it's saying this is not allowed or this is allowed. And you end up in a situation where the board starts to give legal opinions on a property owner's rights and an easement holder's rights. The third-party interest that submitted the concerns is not an easement holder here. To my understanding and looking through the packet, the easement holder, the Commonwealth, has submitted at least one letter. There's also a management plan that specifically addresses the issue, and a letter from DCR as well. To my knowledge, there are no issues coming from the easement holder. It's simply a third-party interest group who has their own concerns about it. That all being said, this board should stick to the standards in the ordinance and review the special exception application with the same strict standards that the board does, and give it every opportunity that the board normally gives a special exception application. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. The third party doesn't have any standing in this matter.
No, sir.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Any other questions? Ms. Bender?
Because as just said Mr. Clark, I'm going to give the same questions I asked for every industrial solar project. So Tyler, I did walk the property with yourself and your stormwater engineer, who I did know previously from being on HB 206, and he's a different engineer than those that have come before us already previously. And I did ask you a lot of questions about your stormwater runoff. And one of those particular questions, because there is concern out there of water runoff to Caledon, the state park. So could you please reiterate what you told me out there at the site about the direction the stormwater goes and the concerns maybe to alleviate those citizens?
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciated you coming out and walking the site with me. I will go back to a map to help prove my point here. So the park is over half a mile to the west. As you can see, the Potomac River is a mile to the north. The site is nearly flat, though it is very, very gently sloped, and you can see how all of the stormwater management basins are oriented to the north of the project. So the way that the drainage areas are and the topography of the site, nothing would be flowing towards the state park. But that being said, erosion and sediment control and stormwater management during the project's life is heavily regulated by King George County as the Virginia Stormwater Management Professional and Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. So nothing is going to be leaving the site, but if it could, it would not go towards Caledon State Park based on topography.
And now I also understand that you're going to be upgrading some of the places there that there was some creek, like not creek beds, but places for control of water, that you're going to be upgrading some of those areas and replacing some of the buffer that had previously been taken away. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So the resource protection areas, Chesapeake Bay resource protection areas, are areas that are proximate to streams and wetlands. Those areas currently have been cleared in some part for agricultural use. Those will be revegetated as part of this project, and so that's where that number of like 25 to 30 acres of planted and revegetated vegetation comes from.
Naturally native species, not.
Yes, ma'am.
And then concerning the concern about the timbering. When I walked the site, I was kind of surprised that basically you're only going to take away some, I call them where cows used to go to hang out, those little tiny, when you see in a field, those like big trees that are there. And so those are, I don't know if they're natural to the site, but there's not a lot of timbering, correct?
No, ma'am. Yeah, there's 2 stands of trees. And then I said hedgerow in my presentation, but it's really just a tree fence line that separates 2 fields. It's about 2.5 acres of trees that will be taken, and they're kind of in the middle of agricultural fields.
And then, as Mr. Collins talked about decommissioning, because I do have concerns about that, and your removal of the solar panels when you're going to switch them out. I've seen some solar projects going down Route 17. They kind of have containers on the site, and unfortunately, in some of those projects, they just dump them on the ground. So what is to make sure that they're properly disposed of and they're not just left in containers on the site?
Yes, ma'am. So we have the unique opportunity here where we're not only developing this project, but we own and operate these projects. And so, when they're replaced, they'll be replaced expediently because that makes the most sense, A, because it's sightly, but also B, because you need to make sure that the production stays at the level that it needs to for energy generation. And then they'll be removed and usually recycled.
And all this is going to the grid, and there will be no electrical lines because on this property, everything is underground. Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. So it'll be underground all the way to Caledon Road, and it will interconnect underground. So though there are parts of the distribution lines are kind of the normal 3-phase line that you would see along that side of a road. There are portions of that are above ground, but it is underground on this property. So it will connect underground. And really the only thing that'll be above ground are a couple of those green boxes that you see in neighborhoods and things like that.
And will there be any battery storage?
No, ma'am.
No, because it's just going to the grid and dispersed onto the grid locally.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and thank you, and I might have more questions when you come back for the public hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
So I see you brought a lawyer with you.
Yes, sir.
Does she need to address us about anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, next up we have 10-12 arbitrage 2022 bonds. Mr. Matthew Smalley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This item was discussed with you at the previous meeting. So this is regarding the 2022 series bonds that were used to finish up the courthouse. Information that is provided in the packet. There's a number of things. So when we were contacted by this on this I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, we could have done nothing and we would have probably owed the IRS, I think it was north of $400,000. So Ms. Cobb, Ms. Dillard, and myself got on the phone, started talking to bond counsel, and Davenport says, what can we do to limit the payments to the IRS? So it's called a temporary period. It's a 3-year period from the issuance of bonds where you're allowed to rebate yourself the interest paid on that. That amount is $3,362,829.14. There's an outstanding invoice of $10,129.53 for the courthouse, which leaves a delta of, and I've got the number here, it's on the completion certificate. I pull it up, $1,806,165.05. Now, working with this completion certificate, we had some conversations with Jesse Bolish this past week. You'll notice Exhibit A, the second page here, this is filled in, whereas last month when I initially presented this to you, this was not there. So this 1.8 million and some change needs to be spent, or it's expected to be spent by October 15, 2026. So we listed some of the active capital projects that are already approved by the Board of Supervisors to expend this money by October 15, 2026 at the recommendation of Sands Anderson. So all in all, this is going to save the county over $400,000. We're able to refund ourselves interest paid on this 2022 series bond, and we can redistribute some of the money towards the active capital projects on this list. Now, the $3.3 million will go back into the fund balance for CIP, so we can utilize that for other projects. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, can you go back to the list again?
So can you go back to page 2 of the certificate? There you go.
Could that also be used for anything with the King George, any of school-related projects?
It can, really, we're looking at the timing here by October 15 of 2026 to expend those funds. Dealing with Chris Conley and my engineering department, sheriff, we know the sheriff's office, the metal storage building for them, that will be done. So these are surefire ways that we know we can spend the money. So, and we did it as an and or, so to give us some flexibility.
But this could also then open up some of the money that we previously have bonded out to for.
It could, yes, yeah. I'm just looking to spend this $1.8 million right now. That's what I'm focusing on, the 2022 series bonds.
Right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? We have a pretty good grasp of this. What is up for action? I'm looking for a motion if we have no questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so I've worked with finance on this. If I may, I'm going to request, it's a 4-part motion just to make sure everything is done properly. So for the item 10-12, we're looking for a motion. Part 1, authorize the county administrator execute the completion certificate. Number 2, adopt resolution R-21-25 as presented. 3, authorize the county administrator or their designee to process a requisition for the interest paid in the amount of $3,362,829.14. And 4, authorize the county administrator or their designee to process the remaining requisition in the amount of $10,129.53.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Clark, can I just say so moved on all 4? Or they have to be separate?
I would do them separately, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Stroud.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the county administrator to execute the completion certificate.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-21-25 as presented.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the county administrator or their designee to process a requisition for the interest paid in the amount of $3,362,829.14.
Second.
Second.
Mhm.
Motion properly second. Further discussion? Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the county administrator or their designee to process remaining requisition in the amount of $10,129.53.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thank you, board members. So the next item on the agenda, item 10-13, VEPCA, the Virginia Energy Purchasing Governmental Association Joint Powers Association. So this is the entity, the school's already a member of this. This is the group that the county can join to work with this entity to negotiate our rates with Dominion, make sure we're in the right schedules. And the fees on this are based on the kilowatt hours used. We've looked at the last year. The fees for this year would $656. So you know, the information that we've been talking to Mr. Lord, who's associated with this entity. Again, this is a group who will negotiate our rates to help save the county some money as far as our electric bills. They offer additional services, legal matters. We can utilize their team of attorneys. I think it's a good thing to join. I know the board has talked about this, and we have it in front of you. There is a resolution, and where you've got the resolution, the agreement, and then a summary of the benefits. And I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions for Mr. Smolnik?
So are we going to get rid of that $14,000 electric bill at the library?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sullins, for being such a stickler about that library bill.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion we authorize the county administrator execute the Virginia Energy Purchasing Governmental Association Joint Powers Association Agreement dated October 21, 2025.
Second.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-20-25 as presented.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
Thank you very much. And for the next item, I'm waiting for one document to be pulled up here by our IT folks. So the item before you is an internal line transfer from economic development to community engagement for a full-time position. So in the current budget that we're in right now, there were two full-time positions within economic development. One of them was 70% funded in economic development, 30% tourism. With some of the reconfigurations and restructuring that we're doing between these departments, we think it would be best utilized to transfer this 70-30 split from economic development and tourism to community engagement and tourism. So there will be no impact to the operating budget. This would be salary and benefits. And we're still utilizing 30% of the tourism funds to fund this position. So no particular change, but I did mention this, and there's a recommended action up on the screen for you all. Like I said, no budget impacts for FY26 budget. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Will that percentage stay the same going forward?
Yes. Well, so I kicked off the operating budget and the CIP this past Monday. That's my goal, to utilize those tourism funds. You have to use the tourism funds very specifically. That's the 3%, 4%, and 5%, the extra 3% for the transient occupancy tax. You can use those for staff fees if they encourage overnight visits.
All right, no further questions. Need a motion.
Sir, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize internal line transfer from economic development to community engagement for a full-time position.
$80,009.
For $8,009.
$80,009. Can we make that any larger? The guys in the back room.
80,000.
80.
That is the salary and benefits.
$80,009.
Yes.
$80,009.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. The next item on the action agenda, I see Mr. Jonathan Franklin in the audience. This is regarding the food bank that we initially discussed at the top of the agenda. I'm going to invite Mr. Franklin, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, to, there was a brief discussion on this. I think Mr. Franklin can explain it maybe a little more eloquently than I can. So.
Sure. So the request came to me late yesterday afternoon, and I forwarded it to Mr. Smolnick, addressing the impact of SNAP allocations and allotments due to the federal shutdown. So essentially, we've been notified about midweek last week that SNAP was going to be significantly impacted. There would be no funding available as of November 1st when the first
Before we get any
payment.
further, can you just, some people don't even know what SNAP is.
Sure. SNAP's also, it's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, previously known as food stamps. So it provides funding to households to purchase groceries, anything that's not prepared food. So you can grocery shop. It's separate from the WIC program, but similar. You can buy groceries. And so due to that, I've been coordinating with my colleagues at the rest of the local departments in our planning district to address kind of what each other is doing. We are already seeing some new applications for people who've either been furloughed, and so they're already applying for benefits as needed. But that's not gonna, their application is gonna fall on deaf ears as of November 1st because there won't be any funding available. So we met with the CEO and president of the food bank on Friday, me and the other directors, to talk about a regional plan. We will, of course, still do our own local things. We have some donated funds, but they're very minimal. But in coordination with the food bank, what that does is the impact to SNAP is not just to the households, but food bank is being impacted by the lost revenue. And the food bank supplies many of our food pantries. So you're very familiar of Love Thy Neighbor. They receive a lot of food and funding from the federal Fredericksburg Regional Food. So Mr. Mayor produced this request specific for King George. He also provided one to Spotsylvania. I'm assuming he did one for the other localities. And the King George portion, based off of the percentage of residents that use the food bank, comes to an amount of $14,980, roughly 7% of the share of the needed $214,000 for the regional contributions. So this is, that's the request. This will provide additional mobile pantries that come here to the county. They already do that, but they will increase that some. They will be able to continue their contributions to Love Thy Neighbor Food Pantry here in our county. And they also use a program called Order Ahead, where you can literally get curbside ordering of your groceries from the food bank. This will help them address some of the sting of the SNAP impact. And I do understand that, should the federal government all of a sudden turn the lights back on mid-November, what do we do if we've given all $14,000? While I was sitting in the audience, I emailed Mr. Mayor and he responded, weekly installments are an option that will suffice for their needs, if that's something you all would like to consider. And as far as the timing of the process of this request, I do realize this was dropped on you late this afternoon. But I would ask you, as you consider your own process and the timing of taking action, it is October 21st and November 1st is coming quickly. And so the swifter the action, the better the impact we can have for our citizens.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any questions? Seems there are none.
I do have a question, sorry.
Stroud.
So this addresses SNAP for the new applicants that you guys are expecting are the current and new applicants?
It's all SNAP.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a way, he did mention that we talked briefly about it, about the weekly installments. If we did say yes to this, is there a way that we'd want to do that?
Are you talking about the way that we actually transfer the funds?
Transfer the funds. Well, we can allocate it right and then transfer it. That's why it doesn't keep coming back before the board. We transfer the dollar amount and then weekly as needed, right? Okay. If there are no questions,
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll take it.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appropriate $14,980 from the general fund balance to be paid in weekly installments of $3,745 to the Fredericksburg Regional Food Bank for the month of November. Should the shutdown end prior to the full expenditure of the appropriation, the county administrator is authorized to return any unused funds to the general fund balance.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Collins.
You've noted my objections from earlier.
They're noted.
Thank you.
How do you vote, Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
So it puts me in a bad spot because of what I think could be done governmentally, meaning we should have our citizens be able to have impact on this but as a Christian man, I'd have to vote yes.
Mr. Solons?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the work you do, my friend. All right. You're up again.
Thank you, sir. I'm on a roll. So I just want to have a brief discussion with the board on Planning Commission and Economic Development Authority terms of office. So I just have a working paper in front of you looking at the terms, and these are the terms that are on our website for both of the different bodies. So one thing that we've noticed is they're all over the page. Typically, and I believe before I arrived at the county, I believe it was the library board, those terms were reset to all expire on December 31st of a certain year. So I think that is correct.
They were all over the place and they were all fixed.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this notion of looking at this and really asking the Board of Supervisors, is this something that you would like for me to dive a little bit further into for both the Economic Development Authority Board and the Planning Commission? And, looking at these, so looking to the gentleman to my left, I believe if a term of a planning commission has been vacated as it was tonight, code states that vacancy shall be filled, but the code does not specify a specific time period in which it needs to be filled. The difference of that versus a term expiring, the initial term expiring, that can kind of drop off and we don't need to fill that position. I believe, is that correct, Mr. Clark?
From what I read, one moment, Mr. Smolin.
So when I leave, I'm taking all my people with me.
So while Mr. Clark, I don't want to put him on the spot here and give him some time. You want a minute?
Let me look up.
Yeah. So, what you've got in front of you and what I've looked at with some of the terms, trying to make sense of how we're going to, how we would logically break this up. My recommendation, this is my gut check, is if you're in a January 1 to June 30, you're the December 31st the year prior. And if you're July 1 to December 31, then you fall on the December 31 of that existing calendar year. And, looking at this, some members would lose some of their term, others would gain some. We would have to talk about, have some discussions about, extending it to these new dates because some of these board members or planning commission members may see an increase of up to 3 months in their term. So I just wanted to get some direction from the board. Is this something you want me to dive a little bit further into and bring you back some options? And I think, Mr. Clark has.
Mr. Chair, under 15.2.22.12, it reads, and I had previously flagged this. It reads that members can be removed for malfeasance or for issues of absence. Here, we addressed one for absence earlier, and that was for any 4 meetings within a 12-month period. The code then says, in either such event, a successor shall be appointed by the governing body for the unexpired portion of the term of the member who has been removed. But there is no language about when that needs to occur. I think in good faith, if there is a substantial portion left on that unexpired term, it needs to be filled sooner rather than later. I don't think it has to be done tonight. I think that's not feasible, but I think the board should make a good faith effort to fill any unexpired term.
We're looking at taking some of those terms that they end in, I'm just picking March in the middle of the year and bringing those back to December.
Yes, so if it was, I'm just hypothetically, if it was a March 1 of 28 expiration date, we would pull it back to December 31 of 27.
And what if we looked at things, just the whole thing? So if it's June back, we move it back, and if it's July forward, we just move it forward.
That is correct. So there should be some plus and minuses, just looking at the terms.
Mr. Stroud.
Thanks, sir. So a couple comments. One thing that I do like about the proposed end dates, and there's a lot of good things as far as just being able to manage it, but I like that the end dates coincide with supervisor's term in office. So once a supervisor comes into office, they have the opportunity to then appoint their people, and they're not stuck with whoever was there before them. That's one thing. But I'm trying to remember how many people we have on there, because there's a lot of people on some of the boards. Whereas like economic development, there's 3 from at large. And then 1 from the other districts. So, and then for the planning commission, it's right now, there's like 2 per
seat.
2. So, but there's no set number that we have to have for that board that states we have to have 2 per district, correct? I mean, I read the bylaws, but I don't remember.
I don't believe it. You have to have the 2. One thing I've been through this before. I would recommend an odd number. Just I've seen it happen. So
right. If we match the current supervisors, do we automatically have an odd number?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
No.
Under 22.12, local planning commission shall consist of not less than 5 and no more than 15. So you need 5.
You need 5.
Right. So 1 per supervisor is 5.
Yeah, it's something I brought up too. This is not, I don't think this is part of what we're talking about right now, but as far as there's 3 positions for the EDA for the at-large. And I'd like to, at some point in time, we start talking about bumping that down to 1. Or that's at what point in time. It just seems to, we ran into some issues, or you could run into some issues. Not that we're going to run into the issue, Mr. Sullins, but down the line, having the 3 people on one board, you have ability to swing that board, control that board in one manner. And so I'd like to see that number reduced.
Y'all know the history of how that came to be? It does seem kind of strange.
I don't know how it came to be. I don't know if anyone does.
Well, so, Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, like, there was, the reason why he has 3 is because we as a group wanted to appoint somebody, but our district was full. And so he can appoint him to any district because he's at large. That's why that occurred like that.
So would you be in favor of reconsidering that?
I'll go with the majority for a change.
Look at you. Got baptized over the weekend or something. All right. All right.
So you want me to, I'll dig a bit and give you guys some options maybe at the next meeting to look at these. I'll get with Kelly in community development. I'll continue working on this though.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the last thing on the county administrator's report, I have a letter here from Mr. Joseph Wickens, the executive director of the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board, looking to formally appoint or make a motion to appoint Ms. Ashley Terry to the Rappahannock Area Community Services Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
To me, all right. So we are up to our last event, which is a second public comment. Please state your name. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name. If you don't live here, just tell us where you live. So it can be in the public record. So public comment is open. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? Any correspondence? Anyone online?
None signifying, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. So I will this time close public comment.
Mr. Chair, I have something.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank the county administrator for the work that he's done here. And there's been a lot of effort in getting the job descriptions collected and put together. So all the employees in the county have been working on that, and it's not an easy thing to do. And for those who think it's easy, just sit down and try to write out a job description for the work that you do, and it's not an easy thing. So the job's not done yet. I've got some input that I'd like to provide to the county manager and work with the county administrator on it. But as I have looked at some, but I do appreciate you sending those over and the work that's been done, because I know it's a lot. So I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Sir. You write down the notes he handed you? That was on there too.
I had it, but I set it down. I lost it.
I wrote it in crayon so you could read it.
All right, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Yes, sir. I've moved that we adjourn the Board of Supervisors to Monday, November the 3rd, 2025 at 5:30 PM in the boardroom of the Rivercomb Building.
Second.
Motion probably second. Any further discussion? Before I say that, we have a town hall coming up on October 29th, Wednesday, starting at
5 o'clock for trick or treat and fun, 6 o'clock for the real show.
right here in this building. All right, motion properly second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody's aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.